We're live on your DSTV channel 421, GoTV channel 144. This is Joy News Prime. Now, if you're making a long journey with the means of public transport, chances are your driver is high on drugs.
If you don't smoke, you can't do this work. The work is hard, and for you to be able to cover several round trips, you will have to smoke weed to make you feel high.
Now, that is a crude admission by the biggest transport union, the GPRTU. Could this be the reason for the high rate of accident on our roads? We'll find out. Now, also in this bulletin, the Ghana National Association of Teachers bears teeth at government, accusing it of prioritizing senior high schools and neglecting basic level education.
The attention should not be at the SHS alone. We should also look at the basic school, which is the foundation. Because if your foundation is not strong, there is no way you can build any meaningful structure.
They are also warning teachers will no longer use their own resources to buy lesson notes and other teaching and learning materials.
Clearly, if you don't plan for new demand, yes, you find yourself in a situation where doomsday will return in a very big way.
So that's the warning from Ghana Institute for Public Policy Option. At 8 p.m., I'll hand over to Charles and Gary for Prime Business and Prime Sports. Charles, what's in business?
Tonight, PIAC is calling for a refund of monies that GNPC spent on the Ghana Maritime border in excess of $3.8 million.
Last year alone, $640,000 was spent on that commission, which didn't relate to any oil field dispute or any oil field boundary issues.
And in sports, we've been teasing it for the last week or so. Tonight, Gold Chase, the campaign by the Joy Sports team to get as much money and resources for the national athletics contingent ahead of this year's Commonwealth Games and World Athletics Championships begins. It will be at 8:30, and so it will be a special edition of PM Express.
We are your home of independent, fearless, credible journalism. I am Samuel Brace. Stay with us. Now, there have been widespread public rejection ever since it emerged that the utility companies, including ECG, have made proposals demanding significant hikes in tariffs. Well, tonight, there are warnings of an impending doomsday if you continue to reject the proposed increase in tariffs. Former boss of the Volta River Authority, Dr. Charles Broby, says there is a justification for an increase in tariffs, particularly for electricity, but questions why the government has failed to implement the automatic tariff adjustment formula, which would have ensured that such huge percentage increases are avoided. He, however, warns we will all have to pay to avert an impending doomsday, which he says we have already begun to see early signs of. But tonight, the NDC minority in Parliament has also issued a strongly worded statement rejecting the proposed increases, describing them as preposterous, unacceptable, and ridiculous. More on that shortly. But first, here's a breakdown of the proposed increases as put together by our research desk. Now, one of the reasons why they're asking for these increases, especially for the Ghana Water Company Limited, is that they have the inability of the company to raise enough revenue to finance much needed capital investment project. Again, the company is unable to undertake urgent repairs of asset. Also, the company has a severe debt overhang of $1.04 billion, resulting both from refusal of MDAs to pay their water bills and the Ministry of Finance's continuous policy of state-owned enterprises paying for grant and loans procured by the Ministry of Finance and on lent to state-owned enterprises. Again, one major issue is about the CD depreciation there. There are other factors, of course. The ECG is also asking for an increment totaling cumulatively 148%. Reasons are that, one, the company is unable, or the instability of macroeconomic and market-driven variables such as the exchange rate, such as the inflation rate, have also increased cost of both imported and local materials required by ECG to serve its customers. Again, skyrocketing investment and generation costs. These are the reasons that ECG is asking for this increment. Now, what is the request of NEDCO? What's the reason why they are requesting for a 113% increase? Now, increasing depreciation of the Ghana cedi against the dollar is one major issue here. Again, increase in cost of vital materials and equipment relevant to the provision of services they render. Another point is the uneconomic existing tariff. We'll talk about that. Now, high inflation of 19.4% as at March 2022. High proportion of residential customers, approximately 84.96%, including about 46% lifeline customers in NEDCO's customer demography, and need to inject capital to reduce system losses. So that's what NEDCO's issues are. Now, what about VRA? Let me run you through the reasons why VRA is also requesting for up to 37% increment in tariff. One, to recover cost of power supply to the discos and ensure the sustainability of VRA. So for VRA to continue producing power, then of course we have to pay this. Again, to recover cost of transmission losses. The other point is to recover net cost of inadvertent power import and to recover cost of ancillary services to the national interconnected transmission system. And then again, to recover any additional cost borne by VRA to ensure grid stability and uninterrupted power supply in the nation. These are the reasons why VRA is asking for an increment. So what about GridCo? They are also requesting for a 48% increase. Now, the reason is that current transmission service tariff does not reflect the cost of its operational activities and the increase in cost of maintenance and financing project. These are the reasons why GridCo is asking for the 48% increase there. Now, on the street, Ghanaians have been reacting to the proposals. There's a firm rejection of any attempt to increase tariffs now.
Well, I think it wouldn't be a bad idea, but looking at the current situations we are having, it wouldn't be appropriate now. Maybe when we have more factories operating, we have more employment, then we can think about that. If we don't have work, then how do we get money to pay? Yeah, so I think the government on the other hand can also provide more employment, more revenue generating businesses for people to get more revenue and then in turn pay these tariffs. Yeah.
What is going on right now? I don't know where we are going forward or we are coming back. We are government workers. Even when you go for pension self, to get your pension beneficiary is hardly for you. You work a lot before you get it. So what is doing to me, I don't like it. It should come down, cry.
If I may say, we are not ready for it, but what will I say? It's the government, so there's nothing much I can say. Because already they've increased things and we are complaining, yet he wanted to increase electricity and water. We are not ready.
But you're not ready, but are you willing to pay?
Yes. Provided the government is increasing it, you have to pay. You have no choice. So you have.
I think it's rather unfortunate as at this point in our time as a country, when most Ghanaians are experiencing extreme hardship, to wake up once again in the morning after just about 2 days increase in transportation to hear that they are planning on increasing electricity and water tariffs. It's rather unfortunate, but as a Ghanaian, what do you have to do? You just have to work hard and still hope that everything goes well for us.
Now, former Chief Executive of the Volta River Authority, Dr. Charles Reko Brobe, is emphatic that there is an urgent need for an upward adjustment in tariffs. He warns the lack of realistic tariffs and government failure to plan will lead to doomsday. In fact, he says there are already signs of doomsday. He also criticized government for failing to implement the legally binding automatic tariff adjustment formula.
They must be prepared to pay more. Otherwise, you see, if you do not pay more and the utilities make losses, one day the lights will go off and never come back because the machine is conked out and there are no spare parts to repair it, or therefore what would you have? Live in darkness or pay for it?
Right.
But they should be prepared to pay more, and they should be prepared to hold the power authorities to account in terms of the reliability of supply and to make sure they do, and the quality of supply. Thing about power capacity that doesn't take a day. So you got to plan. Takes 4, 5, 6 years to get a new power plant in place. So I hope that those in power now are actually looking at things and planning for the new demand. Right. Because clearly if you don't plan for the new demand, yes, you find yourself in a situation where doomsday will return in a very big way. And in fact, some of the problems we are having now, people who want to ascribe it to technical problems, but they are the beginnings of doomsday because of the failure of the available capacity to meet the demand.
Now, Head of Corporate Communications with the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, Ali Simon Jarana, joins us through Zoom on this development. Thank you very much, sir, for agreeing to speak to us. Now, what remarkable achievement or development has any of the utilities undertaken since last increment or adjustment that has benefited the consumer? I mean, sir, I think you have muted your microphone. Can you unmute and so we can continue or begin this conversation?
Yes, I'm here.
Great. So I was asking for a remarkable thing that the utility companies have done after the last adjustment that could compel us to say, okay, let's give them this.
Let me say a very good evening to you.
Mr. Ali Jarana is still with us on Zoom. We're talking about the utility companies that are asking for increment in tariffs. You know, we've shown you reasons why the various companies or the utility entities are asking for the various increment that they're asking for. Some are looking for some capital to inject into the company. You've heard there that Dr. Rekobrobe is warning, especially when it comes to electricity, that if we fail to pay appropriate tariffs, we will find ourselves in a situation that we will not be proud of, especially when we've seen signs of doomsday. So he's warning that we should pay fair tariffs, else we'll not like what we'll see. The entities have all given various reasons, including the depreciation of the Ghana cedi against the dollar. They have cited inflation rate. They have also cited the inability of state-owned enterprises, some of them, to pay off their utility bills. That really, makes it difficult for them to get the needed capital to inject into their provisions. But Simon Jarana is back with us on Zoom. Good evening once again. If you can hear me, and kindly unmute so we can hear you. I was asking of any development or major achievement by these entities that would make it compelling for us to say, let's agree to what they're asking us of.
Well, let me say a very good evening to you and to your descending viewers and your production team.
A bit of a difficulty in connecting with Mr. Jarana. We'll try our best to. Mr. Jarana, can I hear you now? Yeah, I think your line is better now. Let's hear you.
Yes, you can. Hello, can you hear? Well, I'm saying, let me say a very good evening to you.
Okay, so we'll try and raise Mr. Jarana back on phone so we can have a conversation on it, because this is a major topic for discussion in various homes, in various offices, and we need to get the understanding and why it is relevant or important for asked to honor this increment that they're asking for. So we'll be giving your question, the pertinent question that you're asking in your homes. We'll be asking them tonight. Mr. Jarana, thank you for joining us again. So to my first question. All right, there's a challenge with the line there, but we'll try our best to raise him again. If we do, we'll revert to that story. But moving on. The Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT, is questioning government's commitment to providing quality education to Ghanaian students, especially at the basic level. Now, according to the association, government has neglected basic schools and seemed to be prioritizing senior high school education, especially since the implementation of free SHS began. President of the association, Dr. Isaac Owusu, has been touring some basic schools as schools reopened today. He wants government to demonstrate to the association that it has basic education at heart and is committed to financing the schools.
Only a very solid foundation. There is no way you can get a very strong, complete structure. So if the attention of the policy formulators will be tilted towards the secondary school education, even though presently, even the secondary school itself, there are a lot of challenges there that our members and then the heads of the various secondary schools are facing. You see, recently Charles came out lamenting that even food to be given to the children were issued when the Minister of Education quickly mobilized something and sent it to the head teachers. So you see, the attention should not be at the SHS alone. We should also look at the basic school, which is the foundation. Because if your foundation is not strong, there is no way you can build any meaningful structure. So I think that going forward, you see, when we meet the authority, we'll let them know and understand that, look, the basic school is key. It's our foundation. You see, the education ladder, it starts from the basic school. So we cannot do without the basic school and say that, oh, I have a nice infrastructure, I have a nice plan for the secondary school, and so we will make it. We cannot make it. We cannot make it. You saw the where we went the other side. You see, so we are pleading and appealing to those in authority that we are begging them. They should take a second look at the basic education.
Dr. Isaac Owusu has also been lamenting the non-payment of capitation grants, unavailability of textbooks for student use and teachers' lesson notes as crippling basic education. He says teachers will not be forced to use their own resources to purchase such teaching and learning materials anymore.
Our duty as union leaders to remind the duty bearers, the policy formulators, that when we talk about education in general, it consists of several levels. We have the basic level, we have the secondary level, we have the tertiary level, and so on and so forth. But if you look at presently the basic school level, the challenges confronting the teachers, the pupils, the students, the parents, and the community at large, my brother, it is becoming alarming. You see, the practice at the basic school has been that as soon as school vacates, then management of the Ghana Education Service will start preparing to make sure that they get basic logistics for the subsequent term's work. You see, since school resumed till date, teachers have not been able to get what we call teachers' lesson notebooks. You see, today is 10th May. Teachers have resumed work. And if you look at the condition and code of conduct for teachers, it says that the teacher shall prepare a relevant lesson note in advance. And it is the duty of the head to make sure that this is done. And the question is, who is supposed to provide this lesson note? Sometimes we hear directors asking teachers to use their money to buy lesson notebooks. It is never done. This one we want to put on record that if you are a director or you are a head teacher and you are asking teachers to use their meager salary to buy teachers' lesson notebook, it is never done. It is.
So the president of NAT, Dr. Isaac Owusu himself, has joined us on the line. Mr. Kofi Asari, the executive director for Africa Education Watch, is also with us on the line for a discussion on this. Now, I'll start with you, Mr. Asari. How bad is the situation that we hear NAT painting for us just a short while ago?
Good evening to your cherished audience, co-panelists. I think that the picture being painted by the NAT boss is not a new picture. It's a very old picture. If you study the analysis of education funding over the past 10 years, you realize that basic education share of the education sector budget has reduced from about 55% in 2009 to 39%. Basic education has lost as much as 16%, of its funding within the education sector, over the period. And once you see a decline in budgetary allocation, resource availability, it means that you are reducing the ability of basic education to produce more schools, renovate classrooms, provide textbooks, and provide all the resources that are required to actually deliver basic education. All the issues you are discussing are issues relating to resource scarcity. If you are not seeing capitation grant there, and it's because in the past 3 years, capitation grant has been in arrears in various tranches. 2009, there's a tranche that is in arrears. 2020, there are tranches in arrears. In this particular academic year, no tranche has been released. So it is a fact. Now, what you and I should appreciate is that the education sector is actually a cohort. It's an envelope of resources. If you invest more in one area, it is likely you will definitely relegate another area because we have a general issue of scarcity of resources. So you cannot optimally invest in secondary and do same for basic. So what we are seeing is that because of the free senior high school program, which has been a very successful program as of now, we are putting in as much as 25% of the education sector budget in secondary education. It used to be an average of between 17 and 18%. It's now 25. So more and more resources have been moved to secondary education, and less resources are available to basic education. I'll give you just one example. Prior to free senior high school, or prior to 2016, that's at 2015, students in basic schools were enjoying free exercise books. They were receiving free crayons. They were receiving free school uniforms. Okay, but after 2016 and 2017, and thereafter, we canceled these programs in the basic schools and rather introduced free uniforms, free exercise books, free notebooks, and free food in senior high schools. So if you study the movement, you definitely realize that priority has shifted from basic education.
But Mr. Sari, why should that happen when we have all agreed that the foundation is more important and therefore we need to take a critical look at the foundational level?
I'm not sure if we've all agreed to that. I think that there is priority attention being accorded what is a political promise and not a mere social intervention, which is a free senior high school. And so anytime an issue occurs in senior high schools, for example, shortage of food, you will see a different level of approach by the Ministry of Education. Top 5-star approach, blue chip approach to solving the issue, disbursing funds within hours. But when capitation grant is delayed in schools 2 years, no one feels obliged because no one was voted for on the basis of basic education. Okay. So the reality is that the agency government accords senior high schools or free senior high school is because it is not just a social intervention program, it is a political promise. But basic education
so you stay with me. Let me bring in the NAT president, Dr. Isaac Osu, who is also with us on the phone line. Ms. Osu, have you had any engagement with government over this state, and what have the resolutions been?
Well, my brother, thank you very much. And let me say a very good evening to your cherished viewers. The issues we have raised are not new to the powers that be. And when we talk of engagement, as a union, we've been engaging the Ministry of Education and the management of Ghana Education Service. And we shall continue to engage them. But the fact is that we'll have to draw the attention of those in authority that if you look at the basic education in the country, if we don't take a second look at it and we leave things the way they are, it will go a long way to warriors of a nation. So that is why we are bringing the issues out again, so that at least we all can address it as equal.
Now, as an association, what length are you willing to go to ensure these concerns are addressed?
Definitely, we will have no option than to meet the powers that be for us to put our heads together to find a lasting solution to some of these challenges. Because sometimes it baffles some of us that a basic logistics that the teacher will need, a textbook that the pupil or the student will need as a reference material. Anytime school resume, we have to go back to the same issue and then be discussing it day in, day out. I think that it is high time that the Ministry of Education, together with the Ghana Education Service, find a lasting solution to some of these challenges so that at least we'll resume school and then we will have the peace of mind to do our work, my brother.
All right, thank you. Mr. Asare, in wrapping up, what would be your proposal in trying to resolve this challenge that we have on our hands?
Government keeps making the point that basic education is a priority. Our recommendation is that if basic education is a priority, government must make it manifest in the release and allocation of funds. Because as the Catholics say, you don't run a church with Hail Marys, you need cash. Basic education in terms of financial prioritization must be seen, same as has been done to senior high schools. If we see capitation grant being released timely and delays being seen as an emergency, like the way delays or obstruction in the supply of food is seen as an emergency in senior high schools. If we see the issue of 25% of primary schools not having junior high schools becoming an emergency, and if we see 5,000 primary schools under trees and sheds being an emergency by committing funds and not just announcing projects that we don't see on the ground to resolve them, then we will see that truly basic education is also government priority. So we will advise government that government should let resource allocation and the release of resources to do the talking in terms of basic education being one of its priorities, instead of the mere nomenclature, the mere pronouncement that basic education is government's priority. If we strengthen the quality of basic education, we will improve the quality of secondary education, because basic education is the foundation of secondary education.
It helps in building on that. You've said government should prioritize, but this is something we've spoken about for all this while. It is not changing. How different must things be now to ensure that it doesn't all end at just talking, but in fact things change? All right, so unfortunately, Mr. Asare is gone, but we are grateful to him for joining us, and to Dr. Isaac Owusu as well, the president of NAT. Now, the head of corporate communications with the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, Ali Simon Jarana, has successfully joined us now, so would return to the earlier story there. Mr. Jarana, good evening. Thanks very much for your time. I was asking that what remarkable achievement or development has any of the utilities undertaken since the last increment that has benefited the consumer, such that the consumer should agree to the ones that they're asking for now?
Well, let me say a very quick to you and to your production team and to our descending viewers. As a matter of fact, if I say that they have done A, B, C, D, and Z to warrant either an increment or a reduction, or to warrant what they are proposing to PURC, I think I'll be jumping the gun. There is a procedure in tariff determination backed by law, backed by the very Act 538 that establishes PURC. And the Commission is following through that procedure in the tariff determination. One is that we call for proposals. The proposals have come. The proposals are now put before stakeholders. We have identified stakeholders that we are engaging. So we have started with the stakeholder engagement. Tomorrow, for instance, we'll be engaging the media, the various think tanks. Letters have been sent out, and then they are aware we are engaging them tomorrow. Today, for instance, we engage development partners. We are engaging Ministry of Energy. We have engaged the Parliamentary Select Committee on Mines and Energy, etc., etc.
So
there is that procedure we are going
these
through.
engagements are geared towards getting to the final destination as to whether you agree and the sort of increment we give. But the ordinary Ghanaian will say that there's been a lot of inefficiencies in the system. How are these being addressed just so the consumer will feel that even if I pay more, I'll get better services? These are things that people don't get.
Yes, and these are all proposals as we speak right now. ECG is proposing an increase of 148%. That is not the end tariff. The end tariff is what the consumer is actually looking out for. And the end tariff is determined by looking at a summation of the bulk generation tariff, the transmission service tariff. You are looking at the distribution taxes and levies. So we are not yet there. It's a procedure, and then the PURC has since not announced tariffs as we speak right now. These remain proposals from the various utilities, i.e. Gridco, NETCO, VRA, etc., etc.
Yeah, we understand these are proposals, but were you able to question them on, for example, we know that some of these state entities are owing you sums and they haven't been able to pay. So there are more monies that they need to recover. They haven't. How does it then become the burden for the other consumer who pays his or her bill for them to carry on more? So this company is coming to ask for increment. How have you been able to ask them to justify all of these to compel us to also agree that, okay, let's agree to an increase?
That is the reason we are doing the stakeholder engagement. You, the media, will be engaged tomorrow, for instance. The government partners have been engaged. Questions have been asked. And quite apart from, there are a lot of factors that come in the determination of tariff. We are also looking at, as a regulator, we are looking at our regulatory benchmark, whether they meet our regulatory benchmark or not in terms of technical and commercial losses. That's the key factor. We're also looking at the interest of the investor community. Then the interest of the consumer is so key and dear to the heart of the Commission. That is what we are looking at. There are several other factors that we are going to consider in determining the end user tariff. But for now, like I indicated earlier on, PURC has not announced tariffs. We are currently doing stakeholder engagement.
Okay, so we are still at the engagement stage. So when you look at the benchmark you spoke about, do these entities qualify for an upward adjustment?
Regarding the benchmarks are being, their proposals are being compared with the benchmarks we have. A determination has not been done yet. After the consultation, then these proposals would then be referred to the technical committee. Then the technical committee will look at, for instance, ECG, what are their technical laws, what is the regulatory benchmark, what are their commercial laws, what is the regulatory benchmark. Then they will do these computations and come out with a final end user tariff.
Well, but these are the same issues that we talk about every year or anytime there's an adjustment. And then we talk about, inefficiencies in the system. But if their claim is about matching up tariffs to cost and quality of service, why not allow for more private participation in the utility space to bring competition?
Well, like I indicated, their inefficiencies is not the only factor that is used in the determination of tariffs. There are several factors, and I don't know why you are bent on talking about inefficiency.
Because that is what most Ghanaians talk about. For example, if we have state-owned enterprises who owe the ECG millions of Ghana cedis and they are not collecting, if we hear about system losses, all these things are not corrected, and every time there has to be an upward adjustment, that's the issue that the ordinary Ghanaian is talking about, and that's why I'm asking these. Have we been able to correct the basics?
Yes, and I'm telling you that all of these regulatory benchmarks are going to be considered in the computation of the end user tariff. Here we are looking at the end user tariff, and we are not looking at the proposal that have been submitted before PURC. I don't know, all of these indicators, like I said, we are looking at the exchange rate, we are looking at inflation, we are looking at regulatory benchmarks, we are looking at the interest of the investor community, we are also looking at the interest of the consumer. These are a few of the indicators we'll be considering in the final determination of an end user tariff. And our emphasis here is end user class addicts.
Okay. All right. I'm grateful to you, sir, for joining us. Ali Simon Jarana is Head of Communications at the Public Utility Regulatory Commission, the PRC. Now, still to come, if you are making a long journey with a means of public transport, chances are your driver is high on drugs.
If you don't smoke, you can't do this work. The work is hard, and for you to be able to cover several round trips, you will have to smoke weed to make you feel high.
Welcome back from the break. Imagine traveling on a bus driven by a driver who is intoxicated by either weed or alcohol. In case you did not know, some drivers in Ghana have confirmed that indeed they take drugs to aid them carry through their daily work and to help achieve their targets. Now, this is coming on the back of a session by the National Secretary of the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, GPRTU, that some of their drivers resort to drugs in their work.
From Wednesday, patrons of intercity buses at the New Plant Transport Yard.
Somebody called and said, "Do I have heard of this? What toffee or this hacks or toffee that is made of cocaine or whatever?" And I said, "I've never seen it, but somewhere I heard about it."
So you mean drivers driving passengers long routes are stopping to take concoctions, including possibly toffees that are made of cocaine and
exactly so. That's what we heard. Don't say that possibly it can happen.
And they do this because
they think they want to stay awake until that they catch where they are going, and maybe to make the multiple trips that they want to do. It is not easy to get them until it happens. And that's why I said that we needed to empower the passengers on board in every car. And the passengers will be bolded. The passengers will be bolded enough to report such situations that they see. We haven't gotten one that has, I think it's just like a statement made that we will wear off and then to look forward to it. But we haven't gotten particularly one driver that has been reported by a particular person or a particular group, and then the evidence provided, then we can take drastic measures against that driver. We have never gotten that yet. But every information about these situations are issues that you have to listen carefully. You cannot just ignore them.
Now, speaking to Joy News at the Circle Odona station, some drivers admitted that this practice indeed does happen.
And yeah, numbi na yenume bi no ma omnom bi na omo kyerese omonum ede ye adwuma se na ebe ya ombenya ho de yana se ema omonda nti na ma omo enum no, but media me feel say omo ha omo ho because omo benya effect.
Some of my colleague drivers smoke weed. They abuse alcohol too. They say it helps them to work without getting tired. We have been advising them, but they are not willing to stop, regardless of the health implications.
Then you see wheat toffee, you do wheat toffee. Yeah. More patches say a human eye, no, we least mistake. Our young could be we are load. Until no more sudden Sunday be ya bring to me funny load. Then you better.
Concern we are no born. So when man was high a crowd there, want me here, man.
If you don't smoke, you can't do this work. The work is hard, and for you to be able to cover several round trips, you will have to smoke weed to make you feel high. We take weed toffee and chilled water to drive so well. If you take this weed toffee, no police officer can detect it, and you drive freely to your destination.
Now we are not charging. What I sent me, both Piotr Augusta are charging me.
Some of these drivers do what they like, but as a station master, I will sack anyone caught abusing drugs.
So what about the bar operators around these stations? We spoke to a bar operator at the Odona station who confirmed that drivers indeed come to take in alcohol before embarking on their trips.
It's coming here not because of the drivers purposely we are here. We are here back of the road selling our minerals, everything including drinks. So these drivers, they are stubborn. Sometimes if they can't, they tell us not to give them drinks. So we stop some of them. And some of them too, whether you see if the person is coming, you don't know it's a driver or it's an ordinary person coming to buy from you, you see. The right ones, we know them. We stop them from. Yes.
And when you tell them not to, do they obey? Do they obey?
Okay, the time you can't sell for me, I'll go to the other side. Yeah.
All right. But you do the education?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. That is our development. Watch which bus you board. Now, starting Wednesday, May 11, 2022, if you board a bus from Accra to other regions, you are likely to pay at least 20% more on your old fares. This is a notice from the long-distance drivers at the New Plant Station. GPRTU on Monday unilaterally increased transport fares. Although these drivers are part of the union, they tell Joy News they are yet to increase their fares and are waiting for official correspondence from their leadership. Michael Ashley has more.
From Wednesday, patrons of intercity buses at the New Plant Transport Yard should expect to pay at least 20% more on transport fares.
My name is Kwabno Usu Elias Abe, Chief Driver of New Plant Branch Number 4, from Accra to Wenchi. Yes.
Have you increased fares already? I want to understand if you heard that other drivers have done that.
As of now, we haven't increased any fare. We haven't increased any fare.
Why is that so?
Our elders told us that they will bring the fare on Wednesday. So we are waiting for them for the new fare on Wednesday.
Although their mother union, GPRTU, has increased fares by 20%, these drivers explain the percentage wasn't enough.
We can't afford it. My full load is, before they take the booking fee, I left with 25 million. I used to buy 20 million from here to Wenchi, so I left with only 5 million in my hand from all of my sales. We are found very, very, very difficult. If you are told you can't afford in the house of crowd, we can't do anything. If you are told you don't have any trouble in our journey. So from here to Wenchi, if I reach nothing, they are going to increase about 20%. Okay, how can we do? We don't have any option. But for we the drivers, they take it to 30% or 40%. We can.
From to a bus now, we buy the 10,000 as a fuel. But the only 40%, it is too small. We want about 60 or 70%.
Or even if we pay 45 or 50, it's okay.
Among other reasons, they cited the consistent increment in fuel prices and the high cost of spare parts.
But as for fuel, it's too hard. So we want to increase the dollar fare for us. So from here to our bus, we bought about 900 to 2,000. So it's too difficult. It's too difficult. So we want to increase the fare for us.
Yes, fuel no, automatic. And clear per se, yampenu for so Emma Banu who say, fair no so automatic. Clear two petrol, my total film. Abandon to me, yes, sir. It's a young driver, so I am abandon person good transport, no.
As a driver, before you move here to Kumasi, you won't get enough money for either your packet or for anything, you know, because they have to, once they have increased the fuel, they have to increase the fare.
No, the spare part is too much costly. About 3 months ago, we used to buy one tire for 13 million. Just 2 months ago, we used to buy 22 million per one. Only tire, we can't afford it right. And the spare parts, we can't buy it. Now we the drivers, we are praying that so that the car will not spoil. If the car spoil, the car they don't get the money to buy the spare part for you.
We'll take a quick break here. We will return with Showbiz. Stay with us. Welcome to the Showbiz segment of the news. And Lyrica Joe, who picked up the award for the best rap performance at the just ended VGMA, told Andy Dusty, host of Daybreak Hit on Hit FM this morning, that irrespective of what his critics are saying, he believes he deserved winning the category.
Rapper of the Year, people think you didn't deserve it.
I mean, that's what I think. I also thought I deserved it when I lost.
But why? When you lost, people thought you deserved it.
Yeah.
And when you won, people think you didn't deserve it.
Yeah.
People are even asking who you are. Who is LJ? LJ. Do you think you've built your walls enough?
Yeah, I've done. I mean, your ignorance cannot be my fault. Being what? If you're telling me there's only one song in the category of the best rap performance that it has views more than my song that won. There's only one song.
Which song was that?
Which will be Sax.
Okay.
Aside that,
the Rollies and Cigars.
Yeah. Aside that, none of them. So I don't know how you don't know. I mean, if you go to and it's best rap performance. So if that's what I do best, why not? I deserve it.
Now, reggae dancehall artist Don Boy says he is willing to partner with GRA to help with the education of tax paying. Now, the Therapy Krona, who won the Music for Good category at the 23rd VGMA, told Andy Dusty on Daybreak hit.
Play shows. Yeah. When you perform, are you taxed?
Yeah, some of the shows I play here, they take away the tax from it, and up to now, some of the shows cannot provide me the tax for me to also go and show the tax.
The invoice,
the withholding tax for me to go and show. So that's
really
at the camp. With the creative side now, I think we will need more education and we need help. Like I'm saying, I'm available to offer my time and get to do business with GRA to be able to help conscientize so that we can still structure how, because we outside the structure for the taxing level there 0.0. So we need, because I can speak for myself. I know that tax has to be paid, but nothing they come in like that and nothing. If you come and see the reality in the thing, you realize that even GRA will give us money to go and chop.
Now, the everlasting hitmaker Stone Boy has urged Ghanaians to stop trolling celebrities.
The reality is that it goes 360 with all of us. But what I would really want to address is that some of the ones get too personal. If it's an agenda, then it's dangerous. That let us pour sand in everybody's gari. Then it goes 360. It affects all of us. I don't know if my telling them to stop will suffice. But speaking as the Beam Nation president, I know my fans are not ridiculous. To be honest, they're not ridiculous. Like it's total opposite. No, they speak from what is actually, like if you pick, I think if you pick 10 of my hardcore fans, 7 of them would actually be very constructive with the criticism, where they have it plain, and maybe 3 of them will go overboard, like us in trying to go too hard, So we all do get the trolls, but.
And that's how we wrap our Joy News Prime for you today. There's more news at myjoyonline.com. My name is Samuel Kojo. Coming up next is Prime Business with Charles Aite. Good evening.